What up, guys? Yes, I know, a third video. Unheard of, but as soon as I saw these changes up, I had to make another one. Third video today. Right, so finally we're getting to see some changes on Sandbox for Arty and the shells that they get. So they've launched it already. So that launched yesterday. Not November 25th, that was yesterday. Wargaming, because in case you didn't notice, it's the 26th now. And it'll be up until the 9th of December. Obviously they're going over, they checked over the shell types for non-Arty vehicles. Obviously they link you to all the changes that they tested here. But obviously now they're moving on to Arty. They're not changing any of the economy, personal missions, or player stats in this one. What they're going to be doing... So basically, the last test, the parameters of SPGs became irrelevant. Okay, so last test, basically, Arty was irrelevant last test. They were not testing it last time. And obviously, their changes to HE and the other shells support what they've done. Basically, they're saying that after the changes, Arty became completely irrelevant. Is what they could find. To go with this, what they're testing is they're changing it to go with the global shell changes. After all the changes to non-SPG vehicles, they found that SPGs became irrelevant. Which obviously, if you're going to have a class in the game, they've got to still be relevant, but you can't make them too good or too bad. So they're going to have to rebalance them completely. Gameplay variety, which we've been asking for a while. I think the whole community has. Like, SPGs have always been kind of one-dimensional in terms of how you play them. So now giving people choice is good. Decreasing stun, I like this. And decreasing the damage share caused by Arty. I like this idea because Arty at the moment does do a lot of damage. Still quite a lot. So to achieve their goals, they're rebalancing the shells. So they're only testing tier 6 and higher, with some caveats for tier 5. Each shell type will have its own purpose: stun, high damage, or high pen. Standard shells, standard HE that stun and cause a small amount of damage. Now they're taking damage values from the live server. It does not consider the increased hit point pool of vehicles currently on the Sandbox server. So they're figuring that in real terms, that this will mean that Arty will do less damage to the total hit point pool overall. So compared to the number of hit points a tank has, Arty will deal less damage as a percentage. Special shells. Okay, so these are what were premium HE before. So these have higher damage per shot compared to standard shells, but do not stun. They have a higher penetration value and a large burst radius, and about 15% damage increase compared to normal shells. Now, I do not like this particular one. This is just going to encourage people to just forego the stun completely and just do more damage. People are just going to pay more for more damage. Why would they not? I don't think this is a good change. I think this needs to be just removed completely. Or at the very least, make it so that it does no stun, but it can just do a little more damage, but it has a smaller burst radius. The smaller radius is important here, because having a larger burst radius for more damage is just silly. So I do not agree with this particular change. All they need to do with that there is make it do more damage, but in a smaller area and with no stun. That's it. That's all they need to do for these. For alternative shells, okay, so they're bringing back shells that have no splash at all. So basically, they're bringing back AP and heat, boys. It's happening. All hell's gonna break loose. So basically, they're gonna have higher pen values than your HE, as you might expect. Lower damage, significantly lower damage, but it's predictable. So I would imagine that you'll do, like, if it says like 200, then you'll do like a consistent like 200, if that makes sense. So as long as it's not ridiculous, then I could see that being not too bad, but we'll have to see how it goes. I might well just play some Sandbox just to see how this works. So basically, Wargaming want people to have a choice, so then they can choose on what their gun can do in battle depending on the situation. So possibility between choosing a shell that causes lower damage and stuns, and a shell that does more damage but does not stun. Okay, so it decreases the share of both parameters. I mean, I can maybe see that. But at the same time, I don't think Wargaming actually understand the player base. So they think that the player's performance will depend on their ability to choose a shell that suits the situation. We'll come back to that in a moment. So extra features for rebalanced SPGs. Shells will be rebalanced starting from tier 6, as they were saying. However, if the gun of an SPG is not used on vehicles above tier 5, or the gun does not have a standard stunning HE shell, the gun will not be rebalanced. So basically, your Bishop and your Burt will not be changed in this test. However, it seems like your M41, your Grilla, basically your tier 5 ones that can stun will be changed. And let's see, if the gun uses a special HE shell, so your premium HE, then it simply loses the stun effect. All other parameters of the shell remain the same as on live server, but at the same time the average damage will increase by 15% compared to the standard shell on the test. So basically, the standard shells compared to live server will do less damage, good, and have a smaller splash radius, also good, but they will stun, which, considering that it's needed for missions, might encourage people to use that a bit more, but we'll see. I'll come back to that in a moment as well, actually. And then the special ammo of the premium SPGs, represented by Heat for the Lafeur and AP for the Sexton. These shells will not be changed. This is not a good thing, Wargaming. 350 Heat for 105mm pen on the Lafeur. Not good. At all. The number of shotguns I've seen happen with that thing is insane. I've not seen much with the Sexton 1 because I do not play that low a tier. I do not play any tier that sees that in matchmaking. So those not being changed is a bit annoying, but being premiums, it's not unexpected either. So other parameters like penetration value, burst radius, shell velocity are not being changed. This is currently just about damage. So they want to keep the current mechanics for SPGs in this sandbox, so basically the same as they work currently. The reason they're giving is because they're still testing the different mechanics for HE shells on other vehicle types, and changing these now would definitely affect the entire testing due to what they say is a considerable difference between HE shells of Arty and those of other vehicles. Honestly, I think they should still test it. I think in the second iteration they should still test how the new mechanics work on SPGs, because basically, especially at tier 6 and 7, you're still doing similar kinds of damage on non-pens to, derp guns of those tiers. Just more consistent, so I think they need to really test that on them. The current goal, however, is to test how shell type variety will affect the statistics of SPGs without changing their mechanics. So I can understand doing bit by bit, however, I feel that they could probably go through this a lot quicker. So I can definitely understand them going through it stage by stage. They're doing it on the Sandbox server, all players can participate, you just download the client. Accelerated progression and special missions, so you can get up the trees quicker. Let's see, final stage of the shell rebalance will be tested when they've checked over these changes, taking into account all vehicle types. Obviously, give them the feedback. Be honest, guys. Also pop in my chat, pop in my comments what you guys think, if you've tested it especially. Also, if you see anything from other uploaders, go with them as well. Check what they're saying. Comment, like, throw your comments at them as well. Give them their thoughts, because they're going to be looking for it as well. Also, they're bringing in the new revised battle results interface, so that's kind of whatever. But going back to the different shell types. So, standard shells. So these will do less damage than on live server, I would imagine. For the standard ones, the special shells will do the same as standard, which currently is the same as special. Anyway, so basically, these will keep the bigger splash radius. You're still going to get the same splash radiuses on these two, and the same like damage values on this one as you do currently, and this one will be lowered a tiny bit from what I can tell, but this will get better penetration. Okay, so, and also this loses stun, and then you get AP or heat, which does very low damage but has very high pen, but they have no splash. So, this is good. They stun, but they do low damage, and they have reasonable splash radius. That's fine. This, however, I don't like this so far. So, having people pay more for shells that do more damage per shot. They don't stun, but they have quite high penetration for HE on Arty, and a large burst radius. Yeah, that's not good, guys. That's not a good change. I think if they were going to do this, right, then ignore the penetration. Do not increase the penetration. Remove the stun, but the increased damage and burst, whatever, compared to the standard shells. That's fine. More damage and burst, but with no stun and the same pen, absolutely fine. I have no problem with that, but giving it higher pen, but only losing the stun, no, that's not a good trade there, Wargaming. I think people are going to spam the ever-living shit out of these, so, yeah. These are, you're going to see these fired a lot more, basically. These you're probably going to see fired every now and then, maybe for lower health targets, where they need to get that consistent damage, but they have to hit. Maybe your bigger targets, just to kind of put pressure on them. I do not like these coming back. I do not think artillery should be allowed these at all, even though it's low damage. We'll see. We'll have to see how they work in the test, but I can see people loading only these two, unless they're doing mission. So basically, people are only going to load standard shells in Arty if they're doing a mission, guys. That's it. Maybe the exception being if they're grinding credits, because people do grind credits with the M44. But I expect that these two will be spammed like no tomorrow. So Wargaming, do not put these in at all. If you're going to give people an alternative, you've already brought things in like smoke clouds dropped by consumables in frontline. Maybe give Arty a shell that works similarly. As for these two, this one, again, give it higher damage, and only one of the other two. You do not give it both. Like, so, this should not have the higher pen. Just give it slightly higher damage and slightly bigger burst radius, but no stun, and the same pen. Standard shells, moderate to small damage, but they stun. Alternatively, also remove module damage from maybe the special shells, because more damage is going to be annoying with those. Anyway, guys, that's pretty much all I've got for now. We're going to have to see how these work out on the test. But I will be keeping a close eye on these, because I have a deep-seated hatred for artillery. And I feel that it's one of the most poorly balanced classes in the entire game. Because let's face it, at the moment, it's basically not just a consistent damage class, but it also stuns, tracks, does module damage very easily, and yeah, So not only can it immobilize you, but it'll debuff your crew, do good damage, even on a non-pen. You can still pen lightly armored targets, and does not care about terrain most of the time. There are a lot of maps that have zero Arty cover. It's basically just city maps that don't. And there are not that many of those. So guys, that's my 2 cents. Let me know what you think. Put them in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.